Prime Minister Mottley has long been public about the dire dangers that Barbados faces, as she says, due to its small size and vulnerability to economic and environmental shocks. And she's joining me now from Bridgetown, Barbados. Prime Minister, welcome to the program.
Our situation is perhaps a little more unique because we suffer a number of risks. One, we are a highly indebted region, largely because we are perhaps the most travel-dependent and trade-dependent region in the world, with almost half of our GDP coming directly and indirectly, and our jobs, from tourism. Secondly, we are also on the cusp of the climate crisis. In fact, we are 4 weeks away from the beginning of the hurricane season. But what is little spoken about is that the climate crisis has also resulted in droughts and sargassum weed, which has meant a number of our hotel establishments and restaurants were already suffering before this pandemic. And now we add this global pandemic. So that this is a peculiar moment for Caribbean states, not just Barbados. And it is one in which we hope we can summon the rest of the global community to recognize that it is now more than ever that we need to recognize that global leadership is needed and that we need to accept that these islands, as well as those in the South Pacific, are vulnerable. We also had problems when the WTO was formed. We recognized, for example, that much of our domestic production would shut down and it would make us more open. When we had 9/11, we had other issues that were imposed on us on a one-size-fits-all prescription. Now we have this pandemic. We need global leadership similar to what we had post-World War II to be able to recognize that we need a plan that protects not just the strongest among us, but also the most vulnerable.
You've called for there should be a vulnerability index, assessing potentially how exposed a country is to future economic and public health risks like climate change. I wonder how that would work.
On the vulnerability index, the Commonwealth Secretariat has in fact settled on a framework since 30 years ago, 1989, 31 years ago. We believe it needs to be revisited, but we believe that you can't determine whether we need access to funding.
Thank you. Thank you, Prime Minister, for that. Prime Minister Mottley of Barbados.